I got the cash in the bag, stadium packed. Born a rock star in this life, gon' live it up on the attack. Baby, I'm bad, I just wanna get caught up in this life. I'm crazy, I'm mad, doing no cap. Only God wants, so you better go live it up. Cash in the bag, stadium packed. Baby, I'm bad, yeah. Baby, I'm bad.
I just wanna stay bad, stay mad. Chip on my shoulder cause they treat me like an outcast. I ain't gonna take that, stay back. I'll be swinging hard till the hits come in all caps. I ain't gonna lay back, pray that someone's gonna help me. Ain't nobody like that. I ain't gonna wait, that's all fact. Give me one shot and I'll never get the throne back. I'm sick of being cautious, I'ma go cause some pain, can't stop this. I'ma steal everybody's lane, call it shoplift. Sick of hearing everyone complain when they thoughtless. Taste the pain, it's like candy canes. It makes me go change into a better frame, into a better name. Society's insane, we all live for fame, yeah. Cash in the bag, stadium packed. Born a rock star in this life, gon' live it up on the attack. Baby, I'm bad, I just wanna get caught up in this life. I'm crazy, I'm mad, do it no cap. Only God wants, so you better go live it up. Cash in the bag, stadium packed. Baby, I'm bad, baby, I'm bad. I got the cash in the bag, stadium packed. Born a rock star in this life, gon' live it up. I'm crazy, I'm mad, do it no cap. Only God wants, so you better go live it up. Cash in the bag, stadium packed. Baby, I'm bad, baby, I'm bad. I got the cash in the bag, stadium packed. Born a rock star in this life, I'll live it up on the attack. Baby, I'm bad, I just wanna get caught up in this life. I'm crazy, I'm mad, do it no cap. Only God wants, so you better go live it up. Cash in the bag, stadium packed. Baby, I'm bad, baby, I'm bad. I got the cash in the bag, stadium packed. Born a rock star in this life. I don't really know what comes next. I'm just doing my best, even though I'm so stressed out. Everything just feels like a test that I fail, so depressed when I can't seem to get out. But something deep inside won't let me quit. I swear that I'm inspired by all this shit. Tell me that I can and I won't. That's what guides me the most. Fuck your lies, I'll do what I want. By thirst, I'm inspired by worth. I desire your worst, so you can just hide while I work. I ain't tired, you first. I'll write a second, third verse about the lies you go disperse. You never did shit, I know it hurts. Something deep inside won't let me quit. I swear that I'm inspired by all this shit. Tell me that I can and I won't. That's what guides me the most. Fuck your lies, I'll do what I want.
Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays. College sports all plays. 365, we making up plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. College sports all plays.
Good morning. Welcome to the brand new season 3 college breakdown. I am Ray Cruz. Dre's on vacation, so we're gonna get stuff started here. Gotta move some stuff out of the way. There we go. We're gonna get some stuff started here with college football and college breakdown on the All Sports All Place Network. I will be with you for the next maybe hour and a half to get you started, but we will be back this Saturday at 9 to 12, our regular time. I just want to get some prelude in Wednesday. I hope y'all had a good 4th of July. I hope y'all had some good barbecue. I ate some burgers, some hot dogs with my friends and watched some fireworks. Some great time with the family. Now let's get started here today. We're going to break some down. We got some good things going here. We're going to talk about the college football rules changes. Do you like them or do you not like them? That's the big question for you today. That's the big question. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some realignments here for some teams. So we're going to get some stuff started here. We're going to talk about the rise and not rise up. The programs are on the rise. The programs are on the down. We're going to talk about a little bit of that. And then this Saturday, we're going to go and break down certain conferences. Who's going to win the conference? Who's going to win? Who's going to make the college playoffs? We're going to talk about that this coming up Saturday here. So stay with us. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back on the All Sports All Place Network.
All sports all plays. All sports all plays. All sports all plays. 365, we making up plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports all plays. All sports all plays. We on top of our game. All sports all plays. All sports all plays.
This is the Fonx D Streaming Network. Register to come on our channel at fonxdnetwork.com.
Welcome back to the College Breakdown Show on the All Sports All Place Network. I am Ray Cruz. I am here with you for the next probably maybe an hour and a half, maybe. We'll see how long it takes to get through some of these topics here. I'm going to go ahead and break down some of the college rules changes here. Do you like them or do you not like them? That's going to be the quick question here. The power to be thinks they can change some of the rules here to make the game go a little quicker. Do you like the stoppage after all the first downs, or you don't like the stoppage after all the first downs? They have changed that rule here. Let's go and break it down here. The outlawing consecutive timeouts. This rule will prevent one timeout from being called right after another, which often happens to try to ice the kicker. Now, how many times have you seen it really work? I mean, it's a good number of things, but also it just, why you calling another timeout? You know he's going to kick the ball. So the consecutive timeouts there, I understand the rule. I understand that, but you still think you had that. That's part of the strategy of football. Do you like the way they are changing this on consecutive timeouts? So now if you call a timeout on offense, but then the play clock's running again, you can't call another timeout. You're going to take the penalty, which is going to speed up the game a little bit. I understand that because the last few minutes of the game, the strategy of the icing the kicker might take a few minutes here and there to get the stuff situated out. But to me, I think the icing of the kicker, the consecutive timeout, I think is just showmanship, strategy. But now you're gonna have to adjust that this year because it's no longer a consecutive timeout, which I think it could have been. How about not extending quarters on penalties? You got a defensive penalty, boom, you got a one untimed down. Now this rule has changed. This rule will make it so that a first or third quarter would not be extended for an untimed down if the quarter ends on a defensive penalty. In that case, the down will be clocked in the next quarter. So do you like that rule? That's rule number 2. Change of 2023. How about the running clock? According to this rule, the clock will continue to run after an offensive gains of first down, except inside the 2 minutes of a half. So that means 2 minutes of the second quarter and 2 minutes of the fourth quarter. Under the old rule, the game clock stopped when a team gained a first down and the clock restarted when the offense was awarded the first down. Now that's changed. So the second quarter, 2 minutes, with inside the 2 minutes, the clock will stop after every first down. On the fourth quarter, under 2 minutes, it will stop at that. Do you like that rule change? So these are some of the rules that they have come up with here to try to speed up the game of football. Because some games sometimes will last 3.5 hours. It all depends on the injuries too. You got to think about the injuries in football here. So I mean, games could be extended a little bit if they. Now my question is to everybody, and you can go ahead and put it in your chat there. Anyway, so I mean, you got to understand this situation here. What you need to understand here on this situation here is that the game is supposed to be speeding up a little bit. But then, now my question to you, this is what I want to think here. I got to get back on track a little bit here. My thing is to you, do you think that will be more fake injuries at a certain point of the game where they need a consecutive timeout? That's going to pop up and play. So there's a way around, the clock stopping here and there and the 2 consecutive timeouts. You can go out there and tell a player, hey, look, fake an injury. They got to stop the clock because you don't know if you're really injured or not. So that's something we got to look at and we got to think about here. We really got to think about how these rules going to change and how it's going to affect the time of the game. They're trying to speed up the game. I understand that because some games take 3.5 hours based on the injury. Some takes 4 hours because you had the second timeouts. Somebody had 3 timeouts. They used all 3 of them at one time. Boom. I mean, now the coaches got to get a little bit of strategy because there's no more icing the kicker. It's no more, calling consecutive timeouts. So now either you're going to call a timeout and you get a delay a game next time, or you get some kind of barring, and then they untimed downs. I think it's okay, but it makes it weird if somebody's not watched the first quarter, and then all of a sudden they see a penalty being marked off. If they jump into the second quarter, then they go, I want to put that out there. So you got to really understand the new rule changes, and when you're watching football games, and if you're coming into the game late, like in the second quarter, and you see them marking off a penalty that happened in the first quarter. So that's a little bit of the things. That's my take of these rule changes. Outlawing consecutive timeouts, not extending quarters, running clock, after every first down. I can understand that rule a little bit more because why you need to stop the clock when it's in the first quarter after first downs? I mean, really? Because it's not the first and the third quarter is not really affecting the outcome of the game more when it gets down to the end of the half when people are trying to score and you don't have no more timeouts. I understand that part. I understand the under 2 minutes in the fourth quarter, same thing. You got a game-winning drive. I understand that part if the game's on the line. But you really got to understand the concept of this situation here, how the NCAA is thinking, and how is it trying to alleviate some of the time? Just like baseball went to a clock on pitchers and stuff to speed up the game. So you really got to think about that situation here too. So I just really don't think that you really got to look at these situations here of speeding up the game or changing a little bit of the rules. Now you got to really aspect if you ain't paying attention to the off season and you learn it, and then you look at the game and say, okay, what's going on? Why the clock ain't stop at the first downs? So you really got to keep up with the off season, and I'm here to help you here. That's why we started the college breakdown show a little bit early in July, get everybody up to speed where it stands right now and where's the accumulation of the new rules and what the effect, and getting y'all information here right off the top. So, usually we start this show a little bit later in July. I know Dre's he's on his vacation time frame. He does it on every season. I understand that, but I want to come on here and I want to break it down a little bit more and get y'all informed before the season actually starts here in August. So let's go ahead and move on to my next topic a little bit here. So that's a little bit of a rule change. Put it in the comments if you like the rule change. Put it in the comments if you like the rule change. So let's get here. Let's break it down here a little bit more here. The college football realignment. There are some teams that came in and realigned some college football. The SEC bombshell, Oklahoma and Texas bombshell announcement to move to the SEC. A domino effect at top of that. And then now the 2023 conference realignment, the new Big 12 members are the BYU Cougars. They're coming from the independent conference, which is no conference, it's just independent. They would not have conference affiliation. So now they are moving into the previous two conferences they were in, the Mountain West, the Western Athletic, and the Skyline. Now they're joining the Big 12. Is this a good move for the Big 12 to bring in BYU in 2023? After compelling a 99-56 record as an FBS independent, BYU is rejoining a conference. College State turned down multiple bigger offers in the past few years to keep BYU a strong contender. BYU is in Proval, Utah, and has possibly the most scenic stadium backdrop of any school. There's also a story program with their own Heisman Trophy Ty Debner in 1990, and they claimed a national championship in 1984. So I have a little bit of a history there. How about the Cincinnati Bearcats? They are coming from the American Athletic Conference since 2013. Their previous conference was the Big East, Conference USA, Missouri Valley, and Independent. They're now joining the Big 12. Could be a group move for Cincinnati. Cincinnati first team from a group of five conference to notch a berth in the college playoffs in 2021. Coming off the historic season, the Bearcats sold all season tickets for the first time in school history. They play in a historic Nippert Stadium, the third oldest stadium in the FBS. However, they have been playing on the same ground since 1901. Cincinnati also won two of the last three American Athletic Conference championships and ushered a new era in the Big 12 under newly hired head coach Scott Satterfield. Scott Satterfield. All right. How about the Houston Cougars? The Houston Cougars also moving out of the American Athletics since 2013. They were in Conference USA, Southwest, Missouri Valley, Independent. Look like they are following Cincinnati around a little bit there. During that stand in the American and the ACC, Houston won 12 or more games twice, mostly in 2021. They also found themselves in a bowl game 3 straight seasons under head coach Dana Holmgren, winning each of their last two. Houston is U.S. fourth largest city, giving the Big 12 another large footprint. However, TECU Stadium, built in 2014, becomes the Big 12 smallest stadium at 40,000. So that's a little bit of tell here. The smallest stadium in the Big 12 at 40,000. Does this now get the money into Houston where they can upgrade their stadium, try to rebuild, or are they going to keep their home attack? But I think the smaller crowd there for Houston, I think it's a very loud stadium. I think it's a very intimidating stadium. Could be for some of the Big 12 teams coming in there. So that could be a good look there for the Big 12. All right. This is a big one right here. In the state of Florida, where I'm in Jacksonville, Florida, down the road about 2 hours. University of Central Florida Knights. They're also coming out of the American Athletic Conference. Since 2013, previous Conference USA, MAC, and Independent. UCF begins their FBS membership in 1996, making them the youngest Power 5 program in the nation. However, in their relatively short history at the FBS level, UFC has won 10 plus games 7 times and has claimed undefeated national championship in 2017. So if you look at this situation here, 2017, they went undefeated and claimed the national championship. And people say, oh, they claimed it. Yes, they claimed it. But teams like Alabama have claimed championships before too, in the long history in the past, and their fans still counts it. So UCF is counting it. I understand that. But USC has been on a rise under 3 different head coaches in the last 3 years, their last extent. Yeah, Frost, who did pretty good down in UCF. Heupel did pretty good in UCF. So now, can UCF be a contender in a Power 5 conference like the Big 12? That's going to be a good question here. UCF is the largest college in the U.S. according to student enrollment, with nearly 70,000 students. 70,000 students. Very interesting here. That was a very interesting. This program has shown emphasis of resilience to having gone from 0 to 10 wins within a 4-year span twice. That's an interesting tidbit. We'll talk a little bit more about the Big 12 when we start breaking down the Big 12 conference. Also in the 2023 conference realignment, the new American Athletic Conference members, the Charlotte 49ers out of Charlotte, North Carolina, has now moved from Conference USA. They came up into Division 1 in 2015. The Charlotte has made the jump to the FBS in 2015, heading to in 2022 season tongue twister there. Season had the smallest college football venue in the country, Jerry Richardson Stadium, located on a gorgeous UNC Charlotte campus site, just 15,314, but has plans to expand to a 30,000 in the coming years. That's a little bit interesting. They're going to add 15 more thousand, less than 15 more thousand seats into the stadium and become a 30,000 seat stadium, which I think is the Queen City is also another name for Charlotte. The Queen City was the strategic for one to add the Queen City into a AAC fold with an enrollment over 30,000 students. UNC Charlotte is the second largest university in North Carolina. In terms of football, they have just one winning season in their FBS history. 2019, they were 7-6. The Florida Atlantic Owls out of Boca Raton, Florida. FHU is located. American Athletic Conference, 3 strongholds in Florida, Tampa, Orlando, Miami, having made the jump to FBS level in 2004. FAU has been destination jobs for big names in need of a reset. Lane Kiffin, Willie Taggart, Carla Panella, and now Tom Herman is making up 4 of the 6 all-time head coaches in Boga. The area is demonstrable that the FSAU Stadium hosts its own bowl game in Boca Raton. So they do have a bowl game down in Boca Raton. They are now joining the athletic thing. The North Texas Mean Green, they're also joining. They came out of the Conference USA since 2013. They were in the Sun Belt, the Big West, Mountain, the Missouri Valley Independent. They also now have a footprint. American Athletic Conference will now have a footprint back into Dallas. So they had added Fort Worth with an inclusion of North Texas. The Mean Green also brings in a new head coach, Eric Morris, who called plays for Washington State after a stint at Incarnate World into 2021. Yeah, I made fun of that last year. Incarnate World in 2021. That's the first time I've heard about that. It's the school. They just probably jumped in there. The country's most unique stadium is Apogee Stadium, which features a large end zone stands in the shape of an eagle tail. The name Mean Green. Remember the Mean Green is the fact that does not come from the NFL great Hall of Famer Mean Joe Green, but a cheer first heard in 1966. Other famous athletes from University of North Texas, Chuck Benny, Brian Waters, and Stone Cold Steve Austin, the professional wrestler. The Rice Owls also coming into going from Conference USA since 2005, going into the Western Athletic. Previous Conference Western Athletic Southwest. They are now joining North Texas. Here, sometimes conference affiliation comes with an intention of forfeiting academics. Rice is just one of the bowls appearances since 2015. That was the Lending Tree Bowl. So, I mean, you got to look at this thing here a little bit. Rice is getting a little bit going into another conference here. It's getting another value back in the Texas area here. University of Alabama, Birmingham, the Blazers, who popped on the big scene in Conference USA, rejoined in 2017. Conference USA independent UAB made headlines when they hired Super Bowl quarterback Trent Dilfer. And you remember some of the statements that Trent Dilfer makes, wanting people to come in and approaching his players on the transfer portals. UAB support football from 1996 to 2014 before it was discontinued. Bill Clark was hired to be the program's head coach when it revived in 2017, and the Blazers posted 49-26 under Clark. Just one season after reviving their football program, UAB won 11 games, including their first ever bowl game in 2018. In 2021, they opened their brand new stadium, Protective Stadium, which hosts the Birmingham Bowl. So Trent Dilfer is now going to be the head coach at UAB for the Blazers. He's also made fact known that if you're going to poach his players, be warned. That's what he came out and said on the ESPN. So how about the University of Texas, UTSA, University of Texas and San Antonio, the Roadrunners, coming from Conference USA since 2013, going into the previous Conference Western Athletic. Under the head coach Jeff Taylor, UTSA has gone 25-5 in the last 2 seasons with 2 Conference USA championships. Star quarterback Frank Harris announced his return in 2023 to usher a new era for the Roadrunners. So, UTSA is a newer member to the FBS rankings. Played their first season in the final season of the WAC in 2012. They subsequently moved to the Conference USA, finding a little success under Taylor, who took over in 2020. But the Roadrunners are still searching of their exclusive first bowl win, posting an 0-3 under Taylor and 0-4 all-time in bowl games. Since Conference USA has lost old members, new members coming in. The Liberty Flames, former coach Hugh Breeze team, who propelled them onto the scene. They came out of nowhere with Hugh Freeze. Hugh Freeze did a good job there. Liberty joins the FBS in 2018, where they were coached one season by Turner Gill before handing the keys over to Hugh Freeze. Freeze led the Flames to a 34-16 record, including a 10-1 in 2020. Liberty put a starting quarterback in the NFL, Malik Willis, and won their 3 bowl games under Freeze. This is the first conference affiliation for the Liberty short FBS career. They will be under new leadership after hiring Coastal Carolina Jamie Chadwell, who did a great job down in Coastal Carolina, putting them on the map. Now he's going to step in under what Hugh Freeze step and try to continue that success that he had down in Coastal Carolina and what Hugh Freeze had in Liberty. We're going to break that down a little bit more when we get into the Conference USA breakdowns here coming up on the few weeks that we are on here. As their head coach after Freeze left Auburn. They left for Auburn. Auburn, now Hugh Freeze is there, so we're going to see what Auburn looks like under Hugh Freeze back in the SEC. So, you know, the history of him in the SEC, what he did and stuff at Ole Miss. So that's going to be a little bit of a reunion type deal for Hugh Freeze and his cohorts there. The home venue is Arthur Williams Stadium. Recently underwent a renovation. Is one of the premier stadiums in the group of 5. How about the New Mexico State Aggies? They were independent since 2018. Their previous conference, Sun Belt, Western Athletic, the Big West, Missouri Valley Pacific Coast Athletic Association, Border Intercollegiate Athletic Association. Despite being the bottom feeder for the FBS programs for quite some time, New Mexico State has never lost a bowl game. Incredibly, that history stretches back to 1931. Although they've only appeared in 5 bowl games. However, the Aggies have returned a solid head coach, Jerry Gill. You know, he was at Minnesota. He had some health issues and stuff like that. So I think he still got that health issue. So we got to keep him in our prayers. Keep on going there. He's trucking in, and that New Mexico is trying to turn that program around. It's an exciting starting quarterback in Devo Pavia. Although the decision and add New Mexico State was met with pushbacks, the Aggies notched a bowl win this year, and their roster may be a force in the conference this coming year. We'll see. All right, let's talk about the new FBS members for 2023. Jacksonville State Gamecocks. Jacksonville State football history is long. They have played their first season, in 1904. They have found plenty of recent success. The Gamecock accepts their FBS invitation in November 2021 and will join Conference USA this coming season. Sam Houston State Bearcats. Also, the 2020 FCS Football Championship Series National Championship after moving up into the FBS in 2023. Since 2011, the Bearcats have made the FCS National Championship 3 times, but captured their exclusive first title. On their third try, Sam Houston State joins Conference USA at the start of the 2023 season. But wait, there is more. Kennesaw State accepts an invitation to join the FBS rankings starting 2024. The announcement came in mid-October 2022. They will be a member of the Conference USA's. Kennesaw State has host football since 2015 after an 8-year struggle to get the program up and running. So there you go. That's your conference football realignment. So we have talked about the new rules. We have talked about the realignment. Let's talk about a little bit here on. First, let's go take a quick break here. We'll be right back on the All Sports All Plays Network on the College Breakdown. I am Ray Cruz. Be right back. Stay with us.
All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, they working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. Network. We on top of our game. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays.
This is the Fonx D Streaming Network. Register to come on our channel at fonxdnetwork.com.
Welcome back to the All Sports All Plays Network and the College Breakdown. I am Ray Cruz. Dre's on vacation. He'll be joining me when the season actually gets ready to roll around in August. So he might make some appearances here and there. We'll find out here soon, later on here as we are doing so. So let's go and get ready here. Let's break it down a little bit here. We are talking about who's going to be on the rise. They said this last year for this team. They said it last year that they're going to be on the rise. They didn't live up to their hype until the little bit last after the midway of the season is your Miami Hurricanes. The record is 20-22. They were a record of 5-7. They were in a little bit of midst of terroroid. 2023, Mario Castleball made an intimate coordinator switch. Out goes Josh Giddens and Sean Dawson, and it loaded up on the offensive line through high school recruiting and the portal. As a result, Miami could have 3 new offensive line starters this fall, not counting the return of Zion Nelson, who missed almost of all season with a knee injury. Miami defensive pieces held up in 2022. They have one of the college best safety in tandems and multiple playmakers in defensive line, but tackling and a limited big pass plays were the program's bugaboo. Yes, they gave up a lot of big plays there. Helped address the issues. The Hurricanes added a pair of 4-star transfer corners and an all-conference caliber linebacker, Francisco Mugaya, Mauigoa. I don't know how I might mispronounce it, but his first name is Frisco. Miami identifies a problem on the offseason and addressed them. The schedule is more difficult. Miami draws Clemson along with a road game against UNC and FSU. But this team is talented enough where 7 wins could be a minimum expansion. So they are on the rise. That's what they're saying again. Last year they were supposed to be on the rise again too. So the second consecutive year. Will the Hurricanes be on the rise this year? Will the Hurricanes take that next step under Mario Cristobal? But the team that was up there was the Pittsburgh Panthers. They're going to tumble here. That's what they're predicting. They're predicting them to tumble. And what I mean by them tumble, Patrick Ducey, got to give him credit. He has lost 2 of the best college football during 2021 season and still produced a team that won 9 games and easily could have won more. But Pittsburgh has even a deeper loss to overcome and with an eye on towards the 2023 season. No matter which measure you pick, the Panthers are on the low end of the returning production. Pittsburgh is 119th nationally, while the numbers have the Panthers with the second least returning production in the Power Five. While there should be optimism on their defense, Pittsburgh pivoted away from the pass heavy strategy that led to an 11-win season in 2021 and offenses that tumbled to 59th ranked nationally yards allowed per play. As a result, their argument may be made that BC transfer Philip Jovitsky could provide a spark, but he hasn't been healthy since 2020 season. The Panthers also lost a 1,400-yard rusher, Israel Akabaki, to the NFL draft and saw a 1,000 receiver, Gerard Wayne, depart as well. That's a lot of new, even with the benefit of a 4 O-line starter returns. Pittsburgh no longer benefits from an annual ACC coastal schedule. Florida State is on the docket as a trip to Wake Forest, throw in a brutal non-conference slate, including Cincinnati, West Virginia, Notre Dame, and the Panthers are likely to regress in 2023 season. We don't know that. How about Brent Venables at Oklahoma? They got them on the rise. Their record was 6-7 under him. I understand you new coaches got a first year, you got to acclimate. He's got to get his players in there, get away from the other coaches' players. Get his offensive scheme that he wants to run. Got to get his ability to dictate what he wants to do. He's a defensive-minded coach. That defense has got to be better under him. He's got to get that crew up to speed, but he's got to also be now you're a head coach. You got to command the offensive side of the ball too. You got to know a little bit about the offensive side. You got to be a great game manager. You got to be that. He wasn't that good last year. He was 6-7. Had some few breakdowns. First year, Brent Venables can coach defense. Yes, he's a great defensive coach. Now he's pursuing a head coach, and it's a totally different beast. You've got to be a communicator. You got to know some of the strategy on the offensive side that you want to dictate. He tried to rely on his defense a little bit more to help. Offense was not on the same thing, but the Sooners were below the 2022 82nd nationally in yards allowed per play, which is first since 2012 that Venables led defense that ranked outside the top 25 season. So, as a defensive coordinator, you only relying on what you know about the defensive side of the ball. You don't have to worry about the offensive side because that's the head coach's job. You got to know how you got to get your defense ready. He's great. He's good under that. He's good under that pressure. He's good at that persona, if you want to call it. But you also got to look at this situation too. Now he has to make sure that he's got his offensive side up there in the area that he needs to be. So what I'm talking about here in this situation is you're number 2. This is where you should see some of his recruits coming in and being better football players and being a better defensive side of the ball because he's got his defense concept in the year 1. You're introducing all your stuff. You're introducing your defense philosophy. You're introducing getting players that can play that defense. Picking up the other coach's team, you play in a totally different defense. Now you got to transfer it over to his defense, and there was a learning curve. It's still going to be a learning curve for him on the offensive side. So that's the area that Oklahoma has to get better on. He's got to get better on the offensive side. Defense has got to get better go back to where he was when he was at Clemson and at Oklahoma before, because he was the defensive coordinator at Oklahoma before he went to Clemson. And so you got to look at that situation. So the defense should be where it needs to be probably this year. You'll probably see him back in the top 25 this year. But they got to get the offense to match the defense. Because if the offense can't sustain drives for Oklahoma, that's going to put the defense in some pressure situation. Could tire him out. I think that's what happened last year. So now he's got to concentrate a little bit more on the offensive side and his defensive side. So now you got to be a game manager as a head coach. You got to know the offense, you got to know the special teams. It's a lot of things. you got to learn. And what you need to think about is he's got to find his common ground as a head coach. And year two, he could be a little bit more pressure was on him the first year. A little bit more pressure is going to be on him this year because the fans of Oklahoma are used to winning, getting to the playoffs, winning. Last year they were 6-7. So you got to look at that situation there too. Clemson went 69 from 69 to 23rd the following season. Can you expect a similar jump in year two? That's what happened in Clemson. He got there his first year. They were 69th on defense. Boom, jumped up to 23rd as second year. Can he have that success as a head coach this time for Oklahoma? The tradition, Alex Gitters, Venables was always going to take a while, but Venables offseason edition should have speed up the timely considerably. Second, you could argue the Sooners were a bit unlucky last year, forgot losses to TCU and Texas. They whooped Oklahoma, but the Sooners' only other 5 losses all came by a possession or less. In the fact, the Sooners went 0-5 in one possession games. So he's got to get better on the one possession games. He's got to get better on his defense. He's got to really look at this situation here. And the third, the most important, the Big 12 is wide open. The Sooners play a trio of new Big 12 teams: Cincinnati, University of Central Florida, BYU, all of which must adjust to a week-to-week strain of Power 5. They also draw TCU at home while avoiding both Baylor and Kansas State. So if you look at the schedule here, you got 3 of the brand new teams that are told by the realignment: BYU, Cincinnati, UCF. So that could help them a little bit there too for Oklahoma. So that's a little bit of strategy there. We're going to talk a little bit more, break down Oklahoma a little bit more when we get to the Big 12 conference breakdown section on the All Sports, All Plays College breakdown as we continue moving forward to the college football season. All righty. Sorry, TCU, Horned Frogs. They're on a tumble. And the reason that could be 2 things. Teams that recruit like TCU don't make the national title game. The Horned Frogs shattered a glass ceiling, and while it feels silly to doubt the team that just accomplished that defeat, it's still likely the Horned Frogs come back to earth. While I really like TCU's transfer additions and Max Duggan to challenger Morris, it's just hard in Division TCU maintaining a pace that saw it finish 9-1 in a game decided by 10 points or fewer. They have went 9-1 when the game was decided by 10 points or fewer last year. Can they keep it up? Most people saying they can't. Most people are saying that could have been a fluke last year. For TCU to do what they need to do, they got to play the same formula and get a little bit bigger on the offensive line and not get manhandled like they did against Georgia in the national championship game. The scenario for the Horned Frogs also returns the least amount of production, 118 nationally, in the Big 12 loss. That include Heisman final quarterback, first round receiver, and 6 other draft picks. I don't think, to me personally, TCU's talented and schedule set up well, especially before late October, but a 10-2 regular season campaign would still technically meet the criteria for the program to tumble. I don't think there will be too many TCU fans upset with a 10-2 record. Well. Another surprise team that made the list here a little bit when I'm doing the research on this. Ready for it? Let's get a drum roll. If you're on the desk, drum roll here. Anticipation is killing you. It's really killing you. I will tell you when I come back from another commercial break. This is the All Sports, All Plays Network. This is the College Breakdown Show. I am Ray Cruz. I'm leaving you on a teaser. Stay with us.
All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. Sport, all plays, they working your faces. Grace at the field, so type the laces. All sports, all plays. Network. All sports, all plays. Network. We on top of our game. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays.
This is the Fonx D Streaming Network. Register to come on our channel at fonxdnetwork.com.
Welcome back to the All Sports All Place Network. I am Ray Cruz. This is the College Breakdown Show. This is the prelude to what's coming up on Saturday. This Saturday, we'll be back at our normal time at 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. talking about everything about college football here on the All Sports All Place Network. Join us on this Saturday. All right. I told you I'd leave you with a tisser. Are you ready to find out what team I'm talking about? Yes, it is time to unveil Matt Rule, the Nebraska Cornhusker. Nebraska was the exception under Scott Frost. The Huskers were 5-22 in one postseason game under Frost. Good for an ambiguous 18.5 win percentage. Scott Frost left UCF, where he had that phenomenal UCF runs. Went to a Power 5 conference team in Nebraska, where he played. Did awful. Matt Rule left his coaching job in college, went to the NFL, to the Panthers. Awful. Matt Rule found out he's a better college coach than an NFL coach. Matt Rule is a relevant stat outside of Matt Rule's era because Matt Rule's coach who consistently found a way to do more with less. Temple. Yes, he was at Temple. He turns a middling program into a conference championship in Baylor. He took over one of the worst situations in recent memory and won 11 games by year 3. Now he's taking over another dismal in Nebraska. Huskers, which brought in 40 new scholarship players at this offseason, will have both a new look and an outlook in 2023. What do you think Nebraska's record going to be under first-year head coach Matt Rule? Do you agree with this assessment that they are on a rise, or do you disagree? Put it in the chat. I'll read it out loud. I'll read your opinions out loud. Do you think that this team is on the rise? Where do you think Nebraska stands right now? First, they're going to catch teams off guard because Matt Rule, you have to go all the way back to Baylor's days and Temple's day to find out what Matt Rule runs. But it's also a different thing with Matt Rule is because he got different players than he had in the past. But he brought in 40 new people for this program. Tried to relate some of the run. As an improvement suspect, the offensive line stability should help after a disastrous 2022 campaign transfer center. Ben Scott is an upgrade. A healthy Teddy Puchagrass. He's played just 8 games the last 2 seasons at left tackle is a huge as a return of Nordell Noli, from suspension after missing the 2022 season due to failed drug tests. So you got some key players coming back there, and got a transfer guy in the center. So the offensive line might be a little bit more better than what Scott Frost had. And it does hurt Nebraska that it employs a very mobile Jeff Sims to take pressure off of the group. So it doesn't really hurt them because you got a mobile quarterback in Jeff Sims. So now this is where we're going to talk about. This is where we're going to find out if Nebraska is on the rise or this was a big mistake. The schedule isn't easy for Nebraska. Listen to this run right here. This year they're with Michigan, Michigan State, and Maryland on the docket from the Big Ten East. But the non-conference slate is very approachable in Colorado with Deion Sanders there. We're going to talk about a little bit about Colorado too, hopefully. Northern Illinois, Louisiana Tech, and every game remains winnable in the Big Ten West. Nebraska must return to a bowl game, right? It's been 6 years for a program that missed just 2 bowl games between 1969 and 2016. Nebraska is too talented compared to its peers in the West for the losing stretch to continue. PJ Flagg's team is on a tumble. That's what they're predicting. That ain't my assessment. That's what they're predicting. In the past 3 non-COVID seasons with the Gophers, but that doesn't project as a tradition year for Minnesota. The Gophers lost Stellarts and Tander Morgan, Muhammad Ibrahim, and also the entire interior, arguably the nation's best run-blocking offensive line. But, you got to take the little but here. Optimistic in Minnesota surrounding new starting quarterback Althea Kamendas and a more pass-heavy offensive identity, but it's still difficult to shift away from an era so defined by Abraham's bruising production. Also, don't enjoy betting against the Gophers defense because Joe Rossi, who quietly among the best play callers in sports. But again, Minnesota is losing significant production on every level, with some of it departing surprisingly via the transfer portal. That little name, that transfer portal, has come up a lot in the last few years here. Players not getting playing time, they transfer out. Players got playing time, they want to go win the national championship. They play themselves. Basically, if you look at the smaller schools in college, if you can't get a scholarship to a main school, some people go down and play in the lower half of the FBS or the FCS. If they have a good season, maybe a big name college will look at them and they can go and transfer portal out. It's like NFL free agency. It's the NCAA's free agency version of the transfer portal. The schedule also isn't doing Minnesota a favor with crisscross draws against Michigan, Ohio State, and Michigan State, along the tough divisional road games against Iowa and Purdue. Throw in a trip to Chapel Hill on September 16th, and Minnesota quietly has among more the difficult road in the Big Ten. Now, they threw the team I like in there at Chapel Hill, North Carolina. I'm very optimistic of their offensive side. But North Carolina's defense has got to show me some under Gene Chizik. He's got to show me some. This could be a winnable game for Minnesota. Under Bethune look. We don't know what North Carolina is. But if they don't leave Chapel Hill with a win on September 16th, they're going to have some tough roads on the head. They're going to have some tough roads on the head. The game on September 16th could be a winnable game for them in North Carolina. Under Frost, what I think. But what you see last year was North Carolina offense was there. Defense was not. We don't know what the defense is going to look like in 2023 for North Carolina. But circle that date, September 16th. It's a very winnable game for Minnesota, but can they do it? We don't know. That's why we are telling. Well. We also talked about Colorado in a little bit of there. Colorado Buffaloes. They went 1-11. Fired their head coach. Big splash. Went down to Jackson State. Approached the HBU, who've been Mr. HBU, Deion Sanders. Approached him. Got him. Brought him into Boulder, Colorado. It's a brutal, difficult selection, riser and failure in the Big 12. Giving them on production and talented returning at the top. Remember when Deion came in there and stated straight up, it's going to be a lot of changes. He brought some people with him. He brought a lot of people with him. But I like him as a coach because he stands for non-tolerance. You're going to be professional looking. That's going to be his standard. He's more than a coach. He is teaching your kids a little bit more how to be professional. No earrings in the ears. You're going to look professional. You're going to be on time. He employed a Tom Clocken rule. When he tells you practice is going to start at 11, say the practice starts at 11, you better be there at 10:45. Meeting starts at 9, you better be at 8:45. Because at 5 minutes till, he's already started the meeting, and you're late, even though the time says 9 o'clock. So he's teaching them things. He even did something I have never seen any coach really do to his son. He disciplined his son coming in late for practice at Jackson State. Missed a game. Didn't play him. His own son. If anybody can do that to his own son, he can do it to you. He can do it to his players. So you're going to be disciplined there. And what he said in his press conference was very something interesting to me. If you see a lady coming into the building and he don't see you open the door for her, you're going to be disciplined. You got to understand, Deion Sanders is a very respectable guy. Very good football player. One of the best corners in college football. One of the best return guys in the NFL. Played at Florida State University. Everybody thought he was going to go to Florida State when they had the coaching job, but he didn't. He stayed at Jackson State. Now he's up in Boulder, Colorado. But he also has some health issues, and his toe causing some infection. His whole foot could be amputated. Some doctors made mistakes. Not very good look for him. But let's talk about a little bit here. Good news for the exercise in Colorado 2022 season was so bad that jumping from 1-11 to 3-9 doesn't feel impossible. But even that is a challenge to projection, given Colorado's schedule for the 11 Power 5 teams. There is a legitimate NFL talent at Colorado thanks to some transfer portal bones. Buffalo has an above-average quarterback and his son, Shedeur Sanders. Deep skill room, one of the better cornerbacks duos in the country. They also have Sean Lewis as an offensive coordinator, and his system proves a high floor, as we saw annually at Kent State. Remember, Kent State went down to Georgia, almost beat Georgia at Georgia last year. But the question will remain with Colorado is, even after overturning all but 10 scholarship players, is how will it hold up along the line of scrimmage? We know the game is won in the trenches. The game is won in the trenches. We know, but Deion Sanders' son is a little bit more athletic, will help out a little bit on that pressure. But you got to look at the situation here. You got to look at the situation that the offensive line is a dismal shape. Can Deion Sanders straighten that up? But he's not going to talk, half butt. If you don't perform, he don't have mind benching. He'll get somebody in there who will perform for you. Still, one of the wins is very approachable hurdle. The Buffaloes have a winnable game at home against Colorado State rivalry. And then we'll have to hope and to improve continuity, and a on paper explosive offense can win some games. So what y'all think? Put it in the chat here. Put it in the chat. What do y'all think that Deion Sanders' record will be in his first year at Colorado? Will Colorado Buffalo improve? Or will they still stay the same? Time will tell. But when we break down the Big 12, we'll be talking the Pac-12. Yeah, the Pac-12. We'll be talking about them and how they stack up to some of the teams in there. On the tumble, Oregon State Beavers, who had a good season last year at 10-3, they're on the tumble here. Again, it's difficult to pick a team to tumble in the Pac-12. True. But there's also no middle ground in the conference. It's good teams and teams buried near the bottom. But 6 of the Pac-12 teams that have won 9+ games last year, the Beavers feel like the most likely to regress coming off what was a generational season for the program. Oregon State is returning to third least production in the Pac-12 ahead of Colorado and Stanford. There is some continuity on the offense, but that's with caveat the quarterback. DJ Ugalea, the Clemson quarterback, former Clemson quarterback, rise with a lot of hype and very uneven historic result. Now, with a change of scenery, help DJ Ugalea. He could be a potential evaluating process, but there's little guarantee he's an upgrade over the rotating group the Beavers were forced to roll with just a season ago. Oregon State is losing a ton of snaps of a defense that quietly carried the program last season. The Beavers are deep up front, but at secondary, they were a clear strength of the team last year. Lost a trio of starters, including both teams' outside corners. But you also got to consider the past with the selection. Jonathan Smith did an outstanding job, win 10 games, but the Beavers have only had 8 seasons of 8+ wins since 1962. They are being bucket history to maintain this pace, especially in league that it will be a week-to-week slog. The schedule-friendly overall gives Oregon State a host Washington, Utah, UCLA, while missing USC. But if I have to pick a team at the top to take a step back, they are choosing the Beavers there. All righty, man. Let's move right along here. Texas A&M Aggies, 2022 record, 5-7. A lot of made off the offseason. Texas A&M lost in the transfer portal, but most of the players who departed were backups. Like I said, transfer portal, a lot of backups. Transfer portal, a lot of backups in the transfer portal leaving because they're not getting the playing time. But as the Yankees return more productive than any team in the SEC, that's including Alabama. But my question is here, what would they do? A&M offense ranked an abysmal 101st nationally in points per game last season, while will hinge on Wagman and how the Aggies adjust to the new offensive coordinator. Guess who? Bobby Petrino. While the name comes with its share of baggage, Petrino remains well respected in the industry as one of the most Foremost offensive mind, Petrino is a big upgrade on the offensive coordinator and rarely personality who can push Jimbo Fisher out of his comfort zone. That's the question. Jimbo Fisher. He left Florida State, went to Texas A&M. They thought he was the Holy Grail. Thought they gonna have somebody to push. He has done good against Nick Saban's and Alabama team in the past. With Johnny Manziel and all that area with that thing blowing up Texas A&M, Kyle Field. You got one of the best home field advantage. Texas A&M's got one of the best home field advantage in Kyle Field. Loud, the 12th man, the crowd. Now, Jimbo Fisher. Is this the time now for him, or is he on the hot seat? Even though people don't like Bobby Petrino, what he did, he's well respected. He's on the staff. Is he pushing? Well, he pushed Jimbo Fisher out the door too. The Aggies, defensively, the Aggies have the potential to be nasty. It hinges on transfer cornerback that takes working out. But A&M is loaded at every other position with former blue chip recruit who should start to emerge as all-conference caliber player. But the schedule is doing A&M any favors, given it must travel to Miami, which is on the rise list. Tennessee, who had a great season last year under Josh Heupel. Ole Miss, still got Lane Kiffin there. LSU, showing some good stuff in LSU last year. But the SEC schedule is always a minefield. Yeah, you got to understand, SEC is rated the top conference in college football. It's up there. It's there. It's the pedigree. That's what people basing your college season off of it, basing off the SEC teams. It's there. You got to look at it. It is there. That is the ceiling of college football, is the SEC. Anybody can beat anybody, except for Vanderbilt. That's the joke. Anybody can beat anybody, except for Vanderbilt. But you got to look. That's a big but. That's a but. Teams got to play good every game in the SEC for them to come out to win. Alabama's still there. Tennessee's improving. Georgia's up there. Georgia's won the last two national championships. We'll talk about Georgia when we get to the SEC breakdown. What they lost and how they're going to continue. But what do we see? If they can't win it at least 8 games this season, you could end up seeing some big changes in College Station. They predicting 8 wins will keep Jimbo Fisher's job. Not at Texas A&M. Texas A&M wants to be a winner. Texas A&M wants to start a new dynasty. Texas A&M wants to win the SEC. Texas A&M wants to win the championship. That's what Texas A&M wants. That's what their fans are calling for. But we know Jimbo Fisher had it with Winston at FSU when they won the national championship. Can he do that at Texas A&M? Is he the right coach at Texas A&M? I mean, he's pushing Nick Saban's buttons a few times. Yeah, played teams tough. But can we see Texas A&M on the rise? Do y'all agree with that? Put in the comment section there if you agree or not. All righty. Mississippi State went 9-4. They made the tumble list. There's a lot of attention around Mississippi State this offseason about how the offense will transition away from the air raid under the new offensive coordinator, Kevin Barbary. But I'm more interested in how Zach Arnett rebuilds his defense with 118th least amount of production, returning in the FBS. That unit carried the Bulldogs last season, and it must replace a key contributor on every level, including Emmanuel Forbes, who was arguably the top cover corner in the country last year. Stability is in place, at least partially on the offense with Will Rogers returning, but the Bulldogs lost several of their top playmakers and potential. This offense, including star running back Dylan Johnson and standout wide receiver Rayer Thomas. Those losses pile up even with an experienced quarterback and O-line to lead the way. The other issue is the SEC West is always a slug, but it could be especially so this year as every team in the division projection to be better in 2023 outside of Arkansas and Ole Miss. That's interesting. Outside of Arkansas and Ole Miss. We thought Arkansas could be up there this year. They're talking a little bit otherwise. The Bulldogs should sweep their non-conference games, so a bowl game feels likely, but it feels like a tall task for Mississippi State to win 8 games, especially when tossed up in a division game like Arkansas, Auburn, Texas A&M will take place on the road. They got to go into Arkansas. They got to go into Auburn, which is always a tough place to go into. Texas A&M, another tough place to go to. Can they do it? Can they see themselves doing it? Can they see themselves in that area? Can they see themselves like they were last year? We know the defense carried them. The offense got to be good. We know the issue there. We know that the loss of their head coach and Lynch. Sad. This is the first year. The mourning has passed. They still can mourn. But if I was the head coach of this team, I would put it out there to my team. Let's play this for Mike Lynch. Let's play it. Let's play the season like he wants us to play it. Go out there and fight. Be tough. Now, since Kevin Barber is in there, the air raid could be not theirs. Can now Will Rogers survive with the new offensive coordinator and the new offense? He's got to learn a new offense. Can he adapt himself to that? Can Mississippi State adapt himself to that? That's going to be the big question here. That is the biggest question that you really got to think about here in this situation. On this side here. So that's going to be a big question here for coming into the 2023 season is these teams that I said on the rise and the teams on the tumble. Will Miami do what they need to be done here? Will they stay on the rise for the second year in a row? They tumbled last year. They were big hope when Cristobal got there. They tumble. Not doing any favors for them, scheduling wise. Playing the ACC, yeah, we understand that. Most people think the ACC is a little bit down underneath underneath the Big Ten and the SEC. Might be just a little above the Big 12 and the Pac-12. But with the turmoil there in the ACC too, a lot of them talk about teams, the Magnificent Seven there in the ACC. We're going to talk about that too a little bit here on this thing. So let's see here. Bring up some notes here. I went to a search on the internet today. Just look at some top college football news. If any came out, nothing has come out. No players got in trouble. This is the time of the year to getting ready for all the conferences, having their annual meeting, The ACC's meetings coming up. The SEC meetings are coming up. The Big 12, Big 10 meetings are coming up. Meeting the media. That's why we're on a little stand down right now until that happens. But an interesting article came up on CBS here. And the headline, this is the headline of that article. ACC coach ranking 2023 season. Florida State Mike Norvell makes a big leap, but Clemson Dabo Swinney remains king. That's not the part I want to talk about, that last half. I don't want to talk about that. The first half I want to talk about. Do you agree that Florida State Mike Norvell is now up there in the coaching ranks of the ACC? He turned him around last year. Had an awful first year. Turned it around last year. You got a new head coach in Louisville and Jeff Brom, who is arriving from another school, Georgia Tech, which moved from Golf Collins in the middle of the season, decided to promote from within. There isn't say that the rankings are completely unchanged from a year ago, which most names are familiar spots. Coaches like Florida State and Mike Norvell made a significant leap after a long-waited breakout season last year. Here is a look at how all 14 coaches stack up previously voted in the ACC. All right. Everybody agreed Dabo Swinney's up there for Clemson. He's the king. Clemson program, everybody's trying to catch up with them in the ACC. Wake Forest, Dave Clawson. By the way, Dabo Swinney is number 3 overall in the nation. Dave Clawson, who is number 15 overall in the nation as a head coach, at number 2 for the Wake Forest Demon Deacons, which he has proven himself with his offensive schemes. But he's going to have to prove himself this year, but without Hartman, who's now gone over to Notre Dame. Mike Norvell has jumped up to number 3. He is 19th ranked overall in the nation. It was not long ago that folks were drumming up for the hot seat talk about Norvell. He managed just 8 wins over his first 2 seasons, and the Noles 2021 outing was mirrored by a loss to an FCS Jacksonville State. It's not hard to blame it's not hard to blame the fans for the losing presence, because we know Florida State should be up there. Bobby Bowden established Florida State as a dominant program. Jimbo Fisher came in, really forced Bobby Bowden out. That's my take. That's my take on the whole Florida State situation here. Bobby Bowden was forced out. Not letting him retire on his own. Basically, Jimbo Fisher was there to come in and replace him, really. So they had a down season on Bobby Bowden. I understand that. They made the move. Jeff Fisher comes in, gets there, boom, boom, boom. He gets the national championship. Got it. He leaves to he thinks he took a better job at Texas A&M, which technically it is, because the home field advantage and stuff like that, and then playing in the big time conference at the SEC. It's an upgrade. That's what people looks at the ACC at number 3 under the big SEC in the Big Ten, number 1 and number 2. We know that. ACC sitting there at number 3 out of the Power 5. Because now you could say a little bit might be underneath the Big 12, right before the Pac-12. The question I got, the situation at Florida State is a very thing. Winning 10 games last season, falling just short of downing the perennial challenger in Clemson. Based on that strong showing and a roster deeming to return with talent, folks around the FSU are talking college football playoffs. I want to put Florida State not right there yet. Might be on a little bit of a border, maybe. They got to prove that they can beat Clemson. That's going to be the task this year for Florida State. Are they up there with Clemson now? Are they up there to overtake the throne of the ACC with Clemson? They were 9th in the ACC last year. They got to move up 8 spots to get that number 1. They have the talent; they can do it. But is Norvell that coach that can bring them up there? That's going to be the question. He's at number 3. At number 4 in the ACC is North Carolina Mac Brown, who's number 22 overall. Mac, you got to understand he's a great recruiter. He has taken North Carolina program back to a little bit of a sensation that he left before when he went to Texas. Don't blame him going to Texas. I was not bitter about it. He took a better step up. The story behind the whole deal, he promised his father if Texas come calling day, he will go and take it. Can't beat that. One of his father's requests was if Texas come calling, you take the job. He took it. No hard feelings. Everybody said Mac is back. The thing that Matt Brown has to do this time around, he's got the offense where it needs to be. Even though the offensive coordinator left, and they brought in the UCF offensive coordinator, who's a great hire. Elevate May up. Drake May up. But my thing is, he went and got Gene Chizik. Even though it was his first year, not as players there. He recruited a little bit more this year. The big question about North Carolina is going to be the defensive side of the ball. Did they improve? Now, they went out and got a good wide receiver from Kent State. But can he prove himself be that big time in the ACC? He looked good in the spring practice game. He looks good by that spring practice game. Not out there for real. August will be the real. But my question is, this is what I got. This is my big concern right here. Is that the Georgia lost four straight wins, including losses to a 4-win Georgia Tech team that had an interim head coach. North Carolina defense looked helpless at times. Brown's decision to stick with the defensive coordinator Gene Chizik seems questionable. The unit improvement determines on North Carolina ceiling. When I'm in some discussions, some of these groups I'm in, talk trash groups, they tell us that, well, we look at Carolina this way, we look at this way. Yes, we do. But I'm an analyst. I'm with the All Sports All Place Network. My feelings for North Carolina is still the same, but I can be biased here. The talk here is they're going to have to prove to me that they belong on the stage. The offense is going to help themselves. It's the defense. Can the defense help the offense? When the offense is putting numbers on the board and they're giving up the same amount of numbers on the defense. And then now you're in a shootout. Can you, Mac Brown, stop this defense persona? The offense has been great for North Carolina. In past history, it's been the defense that has given them problems. Gene Chizik, he's a good coach. Don't get me wrong, he's a good coach. Pull him out of the TV analyst business to come in and redirect this defense by John Bateman. Had Bateman's players. This year, he has a chance to go out and recruit this year. Can they do what they need to do? Can Matt Brown coach this team? How many years Matt Brown got left? Who knows? North Carolina probably let him stay there until he retires again. He's a great recruiter. I like his recruiting style. He goes around and talks to all the North Carolina head coaches on high school football. Real known around the state of North Carolina. He even coached up at Appalachian State University. He also bought a house when he always had a house in North Carolina when he was here the first stint. Always came back and visited. We know the Texas Longhorns is his bread and butter. We know that. He's always going to be a Longhorn. We know he does the hook 'em horn sign. All right, number 5 comes in. North Carolina State, Dave Doeren. He's 25th overall. He's 5th in the ACC. North Carolina State has been on a cusp of breakthrough over the past couple of seasons. They have. You gotta tip your hats off to them. I will. Even though they're my rivals. Even though I give NC State fans hell and they give me hell. In 2021, they did beat Clemson. The first time in a decade, but fell short of the ACC title game. Unfortunately, for North Carolina State in the 2022 season, derailed when starting quarterback Devon Leary went down with injuries. Yeah, I can give you that. Even so, Doeren is the first North Carolina State coach in almost 30 years with 2 consecutive top 25 finishes to his name. Last year was 5th in the ACC. I give NC State some credit. He's done a very good job there. Now he's got Brandon Armstrong coming in from Virginia as a quarterback. Now going to be another strong team. Yes, I give him that too. Yes, he has North Carolina's number. I'll give him that. But the question is, they still got to go. Even though we don't have the Coastal Division, we don't have the Atlantic Division, we all put together. We will now see the true grit of the ACC. We'll see the true grit of North Carolina. We'll see the true grit of North Carolina State. We'll see Wake Forest. Are they going to be up there? It's going to be a grind this year in the ACC. I think it made it better to take away the conference, the 2 division. I thought it was stupid anyway. You talking about me? I'm old school. I was brought up in the 80s when we didn't have 2 divisions. Everybody in the ACC fighting each other for the ACC to right. First and second team played. First and second team, the first team won. They didn't have no playoff, the championship game. Now we got a championship game. The first 2, number 1 and number 2, will play each other. You got no qualms with it. You got to beat the team that you put on your schedule. You got to beat that team on your schedule. You got to beat them. And that's what NC State and North Carolina, and that's what Wake Forest, that's what all these teams got to do. They got to go in out there and beat the teams that they put on the schedule. Number 6 comes in Pat Narduzzi, 29th overall. Narduzzi has lost a Heisman finalist at quarterback and had a 2-cycle through Signal College due to various injuries in 2022, and still managed to win 8 games in regular season games, including a bowl victory over UCLA. But this came a year after he led the Panthers to their first ACC championship in program history and first New Year's 6 day bowl game appearance in 2004. Narduzzi has just 1 losing season on his ledger at Pitt, head coach in the last year's 6th in the ACC. I broke it down for you earlier. He's got a lot of pieces he's got to put up. Pat Narduzzi is not a talented, but not bad as a coach. Great defensive mind. Now he's got that transfer quarterback who's been injury prone out of BCU, out of Boston College. So we're going to see how how he coaches this year. This is going to be a very intelligent if he is that established of a coach. Jeff Brom comes in at number 33 overall. Brom is the ACC only brand new head coach. Not counting returning interims this year. He returns to his alma mater after an underrated stint at Purdue, where he led the Boilermakers to a 2022 Big Ten championship game, emerging as a benefactor of a messy Big Ten West. And his last 2 years at Purdue as a Purdue's coach, Brom has posted a 17-9 with a more impressive 12-6, showing in the Big Ten play. Which Big Ten is what? What I said. They're ranked number 2 in the conference in the rankings in the Power 5. Behind the SEC. That's what people think. He has proven that he can win that Big Ten. Now he's going to jump into the third rated conference. That's what people are either third or fourth. It could be interchangeable with the Big 12. Well, he's got to get his players in there as a first year coach. Like I told you, teams as a first year coach, you got to get your players in there. How is he going to take from Satterfield's players and turn them around from one different style to another different style? They play totally different style. So that's going to be a thing here. That's going to be what we think of the Cardinals here. I mean, if you look at it, Purdue 17-12-6, Brom, Scott Satterfield left on his own volition. He didn't get fired. He wasn't forced out. He left to take the Cincinnati job. It seems as the Cardinals upgrade, it could be. I mean, Satterfield had a good stint at Appalachian State. Thought he was going to bring Louisville that same success. Did okay. Moved on to Cincinnati. Coming in at number 8, Mario Cristobal, who was 39th overall, was a difference in year makes. Cristobal debuted in the top 3 of the ACC last year, ACC coaching rankings, but plummeted after a sorry first year at Miami. It was his first losing season as a full-time Power 5 coach. And Hurricanes finished just above Virginia and Virginia Tech in the ACC Coastal Standing, which we have no more Coastal Division. They lost at home to a Middle Tennessee State and beat just one FBS team that finished with a winning record. Cristobal recruits well, so I hope Miami is leaping in the second year. We don't know. They were on the rise. I broke it down to on the rise. Coming in at number 9, Mike Elko, 44th overall. Elko still be ranked this low after what he did with Duke Blue Devils last season. Seems weird, but maybe voters didn't want to jump the gun too quick or chalk Elko's 9-4 record in his coaching debut to beginners' luck. The Blue Devils lost just one game at home and notched their first bowl win since 2018 by knocking off UCF. In the Military Bowl, Duke is set to make his noise in 2023 with Riley Leonard back at quarterback. Last year was 13th ranked. Let's talk about Duke a little bit here. I give Duke a lot of fans, shit. Let's just call it what it is. Trash talk. Shit. I give Duke a lot of trash talk. But year one, with the first year head coach, making his stand, didn't know what Duke was going to run, didn't know what Duke was going to play on defense, had a quarterback that came out of nowhere. Yeah, he did come out of nowhere. Come on now. Be realistic. But you got to give Mike Elko credit. He came in there. He lit a fire on their ass at Duke. Changed the whole type of program. Total change in everything. Their eating habits, their workout regimens, their mindsets. Made him 9-4. I'm not going to get my head in myself right now. But this kind of reminds me of a certain coach that was at Duke back in the 80s before he went to Florida. But we also know that North Carolina, NC State, Duke, Wake Forest. At one time was considered, you go there, get your coaching up, you win, move on to a better program. Mike Elko got something special going on in Duke. This is not a UNC fan, blah, blah, blah. This is a biased analyst talking about a certain thing. Riley Leonard made this team special last year with his legs throwing. Came out of nowhere. Duke was predicted to be, what was it? Like a bottom feeder. But came out, played good first game. Boom. Got some wins under their belts. Boom. Got all kinds of stuff going. But you got to really understand, Mike Elko is not a bad coach. Came out of Texas A&M. He's a good motivator. Team's fired up. But the question is now, you got tape under what Mike Elko has done. You got 12 games, game tapes, footage. Now you got tape on Riley Leonard, what he does best. When we talk about not beginner's luck, I don't talk about that's asinine. I don't talk about luck. I don't talk about that. Year 2, we'll see if he's that great, if he has changed Duke around. Year 2. Because now you got teams that now know what they can do, what his offense, what his defensive schemes are. They got tapes on them. You can't surprise nobody now. You can't take Duke for granted. No, you can't. You take Duke for granted, you're gonna lose. But we have also seen this at Duke too. Coach does good one year, tail off the next year. Duke gets good again, tail off again. And you got to look at this situation with Duke. Yes, they play in Wallace Wade Stadium, which I still consider a dome. Still don't have too many fans show up, even though Duke says North Carolina does the same thing. Got it. Understandable. If I was Duke fans this year, I would be selling out Wallace Wade Stadium. Now show you got your back for the football team. Not like you do it for the basketball team. Everybody knows that North Carolina's considered a basketball school. Duke's considered a basketball school. We know that. But you need to think about this. You got to think about it here with Duke. You got to think about the situation that now you've seen the team win. You got to follow. Your fans got to follow up now. It is time. It's time not to have visiting team outnumber your fans. Sorry. If a visiting team is outnumbering your fans and you had a winning season last year and you're not going to come out and support a team, that's demoralizing to a football team. So if I was Mike Elko, I would have had a thing out in the papers, in the Raleigh Observer, the Durham Morning Herald, all the publications around North Carolina. Pack Wallace Wade Stadium. Support our football team. Light a fire underneath your fan base. Get them in there. That's why I think that Duke should be at right now. They should be packing more fans into the stadium. And now we're going to see how does he transition in year number 2 when everybody's got a tape on him. So, won't be surprised. We'll break down Duke a little bit more too in the ACC thing. Dano Barbers, 53 number overall coach. Syracuse 10-win season from 2018 is looking more like a flash in the pan with each passing year. Barbers led the Orange to just 11 wins from 2019 to 21, but bounced back in 22 with a 7-5 record and appearance in the pinstripe bowl. While Barbers may not be capable of taking Syracuse back to the prolific heights on a consistent basis, making a bowl game after 3 years are wandering in the wilderness, is this a step in the right direction? Dino Barbers is a nice guy. Really is. But sometimes you got to look at it here. He's on a peak and valley. He's a peak and valley. He's just there. He wins some, he lose some. Win some, lose some. It's just like a big roller coaster for him. He needs to figure out his situation and try to stick with it. But then again, Syracuse is up there in basketball, not there in football. Except when they had Donovan McNabb and Campbell and Earl Campbell. So you got to look at some situations here for Syracuse. Is Dino Barbers the right coach? How many more chances are you going to give him to be consistent of wins? Could this be his last year? Is he on his way out if he doesn't pick up another consecutive winning season and another bowl appearance for Syracuse? Because Syracuse is not going to be in that top echelon right now. They're probably in the middle pack of the echelon. Boston College, Jeff Hafley, 60 overall. Hafley punched well above his weight from 2021 season, leading their Eagles to a 6 consecutive seasons and coming up just short in back-to-back upset bids against ACC King Clemson. He stock plummeted in 2022, though, as an injury plague. Boston College plotted its way to a 3-9 showing. On the bright side, 2 of those wins came against ACC play, with an upset against number 16 North Carolina State, serving a late season highlight. Maybe Hatfield can right the ship and get Boston College back. Can that be the stopping block? Can that be the continuation for Boston College? They beat number 16 North Carolina State. Can that leap him into the next echelon? How will Boston College do? I don't know. We don't know yet. We don't know what they look like here. Teams, these early preseason rankings got these teams ranked, blah, blah, blah. I don't believe in preseason rankings at all because we don't know. This is a different team when it was last year. Different players, different things. People leave, people go. Coaches changes. It's good on paper, but you got to prove yourself. And Jeff Heffel has got to prove himself at Boston College. He's got to step out there. He's got to now build off that big win against North Carolina State. What can he do now? Can that right the ship this year for Boston College? We don't know. We'll see how that does. How about Brent Keys, who's 63 overall, is impressive that Keys, a longtime assistant and first-time head coach, already ranked above a couple of names entering their second year at Georgia Tech, made Keys the interim coach 4 games into the 2022 season after Jeff Collins was fired, and he absolutely earned the promotion. He provided the Yellow Jackets a spark energy and fighting his way to 4-4 record with a big win over North Carolina and Pittsburgh last year. There is a reason for optimism attack future of Keys to establish himself. So now you got 4. He went 4-4. You got 8 games on his tool list. Now he's got to get his players in. He's a long-time assistant there. I mean, you got to understand he's got his players there. He's helped recruit these guys. Now we need to know where he's going to be at beginning of the season to the end of the season, complete season. You might have a lot of sparks and playing. You had a lot of players transfer out. This is going to be a big time for Brent Keys. Can he turn and rewrite the ship at Bobby Dodd Stadium in Atlanta? Been there. Great. It's a great venue. Loud crowd. I was there soaking wet. When it was raining, when North Carolina and Eric Ebron was there, and it was a great game. It was. Drove 5 hours. No lie. I drove from Jacksonville, Florida to Atlanta 5 hours. Completely dry going up there. Poured down rain, drenched back, drove the same 5 hours back, soaking wet. Yep. But it was a great game. moving right along is Tony Elliott, who's 66 overall. Truly assessing Elliott's first year as the Cavaliers coach is almost impossible task. Sure, the Cavaliers were not great in their showing on the field, 3-7 record through the first 10 games, but it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. 3 football players, let's remember these guys, man. Let's remember them. Deshaun Perry, Devin Chandler, Lavelle Davis Jr. were killed in a mass shooting on campus in November. So Virginia canceled its final 2 games in response. Let's just think about that. Tragedy on the campus that Tony Allen had to endure. Same thing with Frank Beamer up in Virginia Tech with that incident up there. These guys didn't deserve to lose their lives. It took a toll on them. It took a toll on that team, that community. You got to mourn. It's simple. We're human. Life expectancy. The nature of human life. Taken just like that. We die of natural causes. We die of death. We die of violent vice in this world today. But you got to understand, too, Tony Allen had a lot of issues, a lot of stuff that he had to take care of. What is he going to do this year? What is Virginia going to do this year? Like I said, they lost their starting quarterback, Brandon Armstrong, who's at North Carolina State. Could go back and face Virginia this year. I haven't looked at the NC State schedule yet. But he has a lot of stuff he needs to do to take care of himself. He needs to focus this year, get this team ready to play. We'll have time to tell when we break down the ACC. At number 14 in the ACC, dead last, Brent Pride. 67 overall. He took just one season from Pride outlook at Virginia Tech to turn bleak. His initial hire did not generate a ton of buzz. Instead, quieting any doubters, he created more about winning just one game in the ACC in 2022 and finished the year with a 3-8 overall record. Let not mince the word here. The Hokies were awful in 2022. A few things stood out about an on-field product, and Virginia Tech only kept it close a few times during a 7-game losing streak that stretched from September to November last year. They were 14th in the ACC. Virginia Tech, one of the successful programs with Frank Beamer. Great coach left. Brent Pride comes in. But unfortunately, took over, retired. Brent Pride comes in. Had good defense, good assistant coach under Franklin up in Penn State comes in. Got a lot of pressure on you. Bud Foster's defense was ferocious when he was a defensive coordinator with Frank Beamer. You got to replace some big names there. Icons. You really want to know? Hokie fans consider them icons. A lot of pressure to come in there the first season. You did awful. Now you got to figure out how to turn it around the second year. Because I'm going to tell you what, the Hokies fans not going to sit back and wait for you to turn it around. If you don't turn it around, they're going to be hollering for you to be fired. Lane Stadium is one of the loudest crowds, one of the stadiums there. I attended the game there when Marcus Vick was the quarterback when they beat North Carolina in the game. He got blown out. Sam Ann blasting when the team come out. Sets the stage. It's grueling. The stadium is loud. It's advertised. I witnessed firsthand. Stadium was rocking. It does rock. Intimidating crowd. Yes. Very intimidating. But nice crowd. Very hospitable people. Went tailgating up there. They came over and talked to us, even though we had North Carolina shirts on. Get inside that stadium, brutal. Just brutal on the other team. Everything that you think you're going to make good, oh, no, it's loud. It's intimidating. Red Pride's got to bring that back. He's got to bring that intimidation back. He's got to bring back the team that plays great defense, relies on the defense. Offensively, they got to be better. Defensively, they got to be better. But we just don't know how Virginia Tech's going to do that and how Brent Pry is going to do that. He could be out after this season. He could be on the hot seat right now after 1 year. Because Virginia Tech fans dedicate their stuff. So, yeah, Chris says we're on fire. Yes, we are strong here. Yes, the college breakdowns, even though I'm a one-man crew right now, my main man will be back short sometime before the season starts. And we had this show rocking and rolling with two people on here. So I'm keeping it right now in things. So that's my outlook on some of the things I found in the news today. It was kind of very interesting talking about Mike Novell there, stuff in the rankings there. Well, let's go. Another thing interesting that popped out today on the wire is the Pac-12 coach rankings. Where does Colorado Deion Sanders, when he debuts against USC Lincoln Riley, holds the top spot? Well. We're going to let you know when we come back after this break. Stay with us on the All Sports All Place Network at this College Breakdown. I am Ray Cruz. We'll be right back.
All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making up plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays. Like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. Network. We on top of our game. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays.
This is the Fonx D Streaming Network. Register to come on our channel at fonxdnetwork.com.
Welcome back to the All Sports All Place Network. This is the College Breakdown Show. I am Ray Cruz. I am half of the show. The other half is on vacation. He's got to get his well-timed rest in. We are getting older here, so we got to get our well-timed rest in here. I did post a question out here on the thing. Where do you think Deion Sanders ranking in the Pac-12 rankings as a head coach? So we're going to talk about that right now here. Well. Number 1, USC, Lincoln Riley. Number 4 overall, Riley is one of the best offensive minds in college football. We can't take that away from him. He is one of the best minds of college football there. A lot of NFL teams poaching him. He's still not going to the NFL right now. He's at USC. He's trying to turn the USC program around. Particularly used the transfer portal to rebuild the Trojans from a 4-8 team in 2021 to an 11-win team in his debut. Though USC season had a bitter end with a consecutive loss to Utah in the Pac-12 championship game and Tulane in the Cotton Bowl, expectations are still high once again. Going into year number 2, the defense is better on paper this season, which will put less pressure on the offense to produce a high level like he did in 2022. Last season, number 1 in the Pac-12. That's a good question. What will USC look like this year? They still got a Heisman Trophy quarterback, Williams. So the offense should be good. The question mark still is going to be that defense. Can the defense, highly talented defense, can be up there? Lincoln Riley has proven that his offense is one of the top offenses in the nation. But, and again, offensive coaches also got to look at the defensive side. He's the opposite of Brent Venables. Venables is a good defensive coach, but has to also look at the offense. So there's two different variety, but two different seasons of a year ago. Lincoln Riley won. Brent Venables had a losing season. So, number 2 comes in Colin Whittingham, 7 overall. Highlight of Utah 2022 season was beating USC not only once, but twice. The Utes downed the Trojans at home to end their quest for an undefeated regular season and deliver a dagger in the Pac-12 title game to eliminate them from the college playoff contention. Whittingham has guided Utah to consecutive Pac-12 titles, and you can make an argument that he should be ranked as the best coach in the conference. Should be. He beat Lincoln Riley twice. Won the championship again. Consecutive years. He should be right there. Number 3 comes in, good boy, Chip Kelly. Number 13 overall, Kelly has built off his first winning record with the Bruins in 2021 with a 9-4 record last season. UCLA heads into the 2023 season without a surefire starting quarterback after relying heavily on Dorian Thompson Robinson the past few years. Kelly's job now is to help develop a star true freshman quarterback in Dante Moore, who will head into the season with a mix for the starting job. It wouldn't be surprised to see him start at some point during the 2023 season. Overall, Kelly is in a good place heading into the season. Is he in a good place? We know his offense we know his high power, fast attack offense. It's like a fast breaking basketball. You turn your head, he's back up and running again. Even though the team scores, he's back at you again, back and forth. I think Chip Kelly is in a good spot right now. Can he reduplicate what he did up in Oregon? And can he reduplicate there at UCLA? So time will tell. And number 4 is Colin DeBoer. Number 31 overall. Expectations into DeBoer's second season are sky high. Following a 11-win debut in 2022. Another 11-win debut here. Washington returns starting quarterback Mike Penix Jr., who has legit chance to compete for the Heisman Trophy. Additionally, the Huskies' strength of schedule is quite manageable, and anything less than a trip to Las Vegas for the Pac-12 title in December will be a disappointment. I can give you that too. Pac-12 is winnable. It is winnable. I give them that. Every team can probably beat every team. Every team can beat everybody, I guess. Besides USC is in that top pinnacle of that conference. So they got some tough tasks to get against USC. USC is a measuring point for these teams. Coming in number 5, Oregon State. Jonathan Smith, 32 overall. Oregon State has won 10 games last season with a mediocre quarterback play. Now the Beavers head into the season with a former blue chip quarterback recruit, DJ Ugalea, who knows his time at Clemson. Not there. Not a Clemson type quarterback. Not the season he wanted to have, not a career he wanted to have. But the change of scenery to Oregon State, the Beavers. Now he becomes from a tiger to a beaver. Building dams. Is his career going to be a dam? Is he going to, or will he break through the dam? That's going to be the thing. That's going to be a thing. What is his mindset is? You're a top recruit coming in Clemson. Perry Arrant, quarterback. Joe Lights against Notre Dame when he first started, when Lawrence was out. Became a bust. Became this. Became that. Throwing an interception. Lost to NC State. Lost to this. Lost to that. What is his mindset? What is his mindset coming into this season? That's going to be your question here. Smith will continue to count on work the same magic with DJU in 2023, another 10-win season. Corvallis, Oregon is a tenable with talent returning. How about Dan Lanning, at 36 overall? The guy who put Georgia defense on the map there. There were high expectations landing his first season at Oregon. He delivered with a 10-win season. The team got a boost when quarterback Bo Nix announced he was coming back for another season. I won't blame him. I'll come back for another season. I don't think he was really NFL type yet. He got injured. I think now he's healthy. With a healthy Bo Nix, if he doesn't get hurt this year, could be right back up there with Oregon. He was coming back for another season, but the Pac-12 will be a competitive as ever at the position. Couple that with tough conference games on the road against Washington and USC, and it's possible the Ducks take a step back. To his credit, though, Lanning has emerged as one of the best recruiters in the conference. The Ducks 2023 recruiting class was ranked second in the Pac-12. So you got to look at that too. Now the question is, Deion Sanders comes in at number 7. He's not in last place. He's right at number 7. Deion Sanders is the 55th overall coach in the nation. You can make an argument that the Colorado will be the most fascinating team in America this season using the transfer portal. Sanders completely transformed perhaps the worst Power 5 roster in the brand new team in one season. Whether it works remains to be seen. Colorado has a tough non-conference schedule with a game against Nebraska and TCU, but there will be a lot of eyeballs staying up late this season to watch Sanders experiment. Colorado may not repeat the benefits of Sanders' rosters overall right away, but it could nevertheless be the team to watch in the Pac-12 going forward. Transfer portal, free agency. You turn a roster around just like that. Deion Sanders is a good recruiter. Who wouldn't mind playing with Deion Sanders? But I'm gonna tell you what, Deion Sanders don't take crap from nobody. You come into Deion Sanders' room, you better be 15 minutes early because he starts practice 5 minutes early. He starts his team meetings 5 minutes early. You better be there 15 minutes early. You better be professional all the way around the whole campus because he's watching. He even came out and said, if you don't open doors for a woman to go in through the door, you there, and there's football players there, and you don't open the door for her. He's already said that. So my question is to you is, Colorado could be a team that might be a reckon with. We don't know yet. We don't know how that roster is going to think. It's going to probably take a little bit of time. I ain't saying right away you're going to be pushing doors down. But that roster's got to take time to gel. If that roster takes time to gel, then we will see how that does from spring training to fall practice to the games. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. Washington State, Jack Dickert is 57. Dickert is the riser from the last season rankings, initially ranked at the worst coach in the conference. He's moved up a few spots to almost join the middle of the pack. He did a good job of stabilizing the roster in 2021 after Nick Rolovich was fired and he later earned his full-time job. The 2023 Cougars will be an exciting to watch with Cam Ward under center. A breakthrough season for Dickert is surely a lock to rise up again. We'll see. By the time until Washington State has to figure it out. He figured out that Nick Rolovich couldn't. California, Justin Wilcox, 58th overall. Wilcox is one of the coaches on the list to drop a few spots from the last season. As possible with a disappointing 2023 season that could be his last with the Bears. Kyle hasn't had a winning season since 2019, and the time is now produced. He elected to sign a big contract extension last offseason after receiving consideration for the Washington job. As a defensive mind, he is one of the best in the country, but as a CEO of an increasingly difficult place to win, the jury remains out. That's what we're talking about. The defensive coordinators, offensive coordinators that don't know defense, all defensive coordinators don't know offense. A head coach is what you call it, and they said it best. CEO. You are the CEO of a company of your college football team. You're the top echelon. You got to know just about everybody's job to be the CEO. Because if you're a good CDO, you could go down and step in and say, "Hey, you need to do this. You need to do that. You got to change it a little bit. You got to change the peak a little bit. You got to do everything else to your best of your ability." So you got to look at the situation that you're looking at right now, in this situation here. Could be his last season. I won't be surprised. This could be his last season because I don't think California's going to have a team that's going to stack up to be a winning team like he had in 2019. Because, like I said, he's a good defensive coordinator, not a good CEO. You got to understand that. You got to understand what your ability in yourself. Like for me, for instance, I know for a fact that I am a good leader because I have that capability of leading. I have led. I have led people in different missions and different things and different branches of service. But you got to know for yourself where your weak points are. Like my weak points are, I don't know nothing about, auto mechanics if it comes to a car. I don't know nothing about if I own an auto mechanic shop, I'll be lost. I don't know nothing about no cars, how to fix a car. I know how to change an oil. I know how to check an oil. I know how to change a battery. But getting down into that engine, I'm lost. So I would not make a good CEO of an auto factory. I wouldn't make a good CEO of a plumbing company because I don't know nothing about how to, I know how to plumb a toilet, but I don't know how to fix a toilet. So as a football coach, I know for myself that when I played football, I only know the linebacker position because that's what I played. I also know the offensive line because I played the offensive line position. But to me, and what I learned in the military, you have to go down and learn traits like the military. And I like the way the military does it. You have what you call your ESWAS pin, which is a surface warfare pin. You can just give you a little analogy on here. What I'm leading into. This is going to lead into the thing I'm talking about. To get that pin, you got to go down and learn about the engine room of a ship, or your air warfare pin. When you got to learn everything about an aircraft carrier. You got to know what the OSs, the combat systems operation. You got to know that. You got to go up there and learn that to get it signed off. You got to learn with navigation, the bridge of the ship, how to run the ship, how to navigate, how to steer a ship. It's all in there. You got to know the admin positions in there. You got to learn the admin position of a ship, the administration part. You got to know the DC firemen. You got to know the fire positions. You got to know that. You got to know all that. The deck vision. You got to know that. You got to know how to, how they paint the ship while I was underway. You got to know how to keep the boat secured, your life raft secured, all that, how to launch it when the VBS teams come out. So there's a lot of stuff you got to learn. And then after you get this big, thick book signed, it takes you almost like 3 or 4 months to get it signed. You get that big book, to get the pen, guess what you got to do? You got to go to a board. You got to learn. These coaches knows the defensive side. So I know what I want to do on the defense. I got my coaches there. I'm doing that. I got to go spend a little bit more time over on the offensive side. Learn that position a little bit. Learn that because I got to be the CEO of all this. I got to learn the special teams. I got to learn the punt. I got to learn the different coverages. I got to learn the different offensive schemes. So I know what my team is doing wrong and how to change it at halftime, how to make the speech I need to change. Justin Wilcox hasn't, to me, just looking at a Bear End, I don't look at too many California games. Just looking at Bear End, he looks lost. He looks lost. His defense, he looks fine. Offensive side, he looks lost. He don't know how to make tell the offensive coordinator, hey, why don't you change this a little bit? Why don't you do this a little bit of thing? He has insights on what the other team's defense is doing because he's a defensive-minded guy. But he doesn't know how to take the offense and attack that. He knows how to defend it, but he doesn't know how to attack the defense. So to me, for you being that coach and you want to learn the crafts while you're in high school, trying to be a high school coach, you got to learn what you're good at. You got to learn, I'm an offensive side. I got to spend a little bit more time on the defense side. I got to learn some defense. I got to read some books. I got to do this. I got to go to the leadership score. I got to go and fix some other bones of the other teams. That's how you become a great coach. Look at Nick Saban. Nick Saban learned different crafts or different thing at different place under different coaches. Turned it around in his philosophy. Made him a good coach, great coach. That's what great coaches do. They learn. Mac Brown. A lot of people can give bitch and complain about Mac Brown. Mac Brown's a good CEO. He lets his coaches. But then he'll go in there and tell them, hey, you need to tweak this. You need to tweak that. You need to tweak that. CEO. That's what CEOs do. They go down and say, hey, I see something wrong because I know what you're doing because I was there. I learned it. You need to kind of tweak it this way a little bit. Make the production go a little bit faster. Lincoln Riley has now perfected that a little bit too. Great offensive mind, but he's got a little bit more learning to do on the defensive side to hire good defensive coaches. That's what great coaches do. Now, Deion Sanders is a little bit of an exception because he played offense and defense. He knows a little bit of a concept. But Deion Sanders is a great CEO. If you ever look at his situation, he's meticulous. He knows what his offense is going to do. He knows what his defense is going to do. He knows what his special team is going to do. Now, can he put all that together at Colorado? He went to Jackson State, put the HBU programs on the map. You got to give it credit to him. You got to give credit to Deion Sanders, man. He puts the HBU colleges on the map. Put a blueprint. Got them TV deals. Got them noticed. Now he's stepped out away from there. That's going to continue to shine because he set that precedence. Now you got to take it over here and put it in the Pac-12. Take a team. He didn't go to a superstar team. No, he did not go to like a Florida State team that was history bound. He went to a Colorado team that's struggling big time. 1-11. Not Colorado since 1990. Won the national championship. Tied with Georgia Tech. Split championship. But you got to look at this barometer that he has got to set. Deion Sanders is a CEO. Justin Wilcox is not. So if you take Deion Sanders' model, you take all the great coaches' model, and you can see, and you put it yourself in spite. Look at Justin Wilcox. Watch some of his games. He does not know how to tell his offensive coordinator, hey, you need to check this a little bit there. Or he doesn't know how to tell his defensive people, hey, you need to check here a little bit. That's what CEOs do. That's what great CEO. That's what great head coaches do. Become a great head coach. You got to learn every position so you know how to tell them with the tweak when you see something that is not right. So I think he's on the way out. Jed Fish, the 61 overall for Arizona. Fish inherited a poor roster when he was hired in 2020, and now he is entering his third season at the school with a real expectation. The Wildcats picked up one of the top defenders in the transfer portal and former Oregon linebacker Justin Flores, along with former Colorado wide receiver Montana Lamas Craig, to replace Dorian Singer, who departed for USC. If there was ever a season to break out through, make a bowl game for the first time since 2017, this is it. Jed Fish is another one of those guys. He's learned. He's learning over the system that he got fired. He's picking up where issues that he's got. He's dealing with them. So you got to take your hat off of Jeff Fish in Arizona. He's coming at number 10. Number 11 is Arizona State. Kenny Dillingham is 65 overall. Arizona ended up with Herm Edwards' experiment early last season and hired the former Oregon offensive coordinator. And as a replacement, Dillingham has helped revive Bo Nix's career and was considered one of the best recruiters in the conference. Dillingham will have the chance to work with former Notre Dame quarterback Drew Pine and star freshman Jaden Rossier. This season with Dillingham can develop Rossier to his potential. Quickly, ASU rebuild shouldn't last long. Kenan Dillingham, great offensive mind. Is he going to be a good CEO? Is he going to have a good eye to pick out a good defensive coordinator? Herm Edwards, great guy. Great analyst. Great football player. Got nothing but utmost respect for him. Did as good job as he could at Arizona State. Kyle Dillingham now comes in. Arizona State. He revived Bo Nix's career. Got to give his hats off for that. First time head coach. Offensive mind, great offensive mind. Just like Lincoln Riley. He's got to learn the defensive side of the ball. To make sure, if you go to Arizona's practice, watch him work his practice. If he works a little bit with the offense, get that straightened out, moves over to the defensive side, work with them a little bit, and then that, you could tell then he'll be a great CEO and a great head coach. Could be turning that potential a great head coach. We won't know yet. But that's going to be the thing that we really, really got to look at him. His development, his skill sets. Does he know when he knows how to tweak a team? Does he know when he knows how to tweak this? Does he know when he needs this done? Does he know when situation comes up, how he needs to implement it, how he needs to change stuff? Everything that offensive coordinator does, they change the offensive side at halftime. Head coach makes the adjustments to everything. Offensive coordinators make their head coach's adjustments at the halftime. He makes that adjustment. Dillingham now has to make that adjustment to everything at halftime. If his team is not doing good in the first half, can he make that adjustment to make him come a little bit better in the second half? That's something you got to look out for. Coaches who can make some of these adjustments and some of these mind-setting things will be that great of a coach. So that's another thing we got to look at for Kenan Dillingham. I hope he does pretty good. He's a good guy. He led Oregon. Oregon was a good offensive juggernaut last year. So, you got to look at that. You got to look at the situation. Can he be that? Can he duplicate what he did at Oregon on offense? Yes. But can he now turn the defensive side around at Arizona State? So that's something we got to look at Arizona State. Stanford. Oh, man. Stanford here. Troy Taylor, 69 overall. Not only is Taylor ranked at the bottom of the conference, but he is also the lowest ranked Power 5 coach entering this season. Don't be fooled, though. Taylor helped completely transform Sacramento State from the Big Sky Conference to a basement dweller to back-to-back conference title winners. The rebuild at Stanford will be much tougher with a rigorous administration that can make transfer portal acquisition difficult. However, Stanford already has a top 15 class in 2024 recruiting, ranking with Taylor at the helm. Don't be surprised if Taylor is rapid riser in the rankings next season. He is one of the most underrated offensive play callers in the country. Lastly, again, another offensive coordinator has got to be a CEO. Same thing with Dillingham. Same thing with Taylor. But Taylor is coming in a little bit different from Dillingham. Dillingham coming from another Power 5 Pac-12 conference, so he's no big-time college football. Troy Taylor is coming in from Sacramento State, the Big Sky Conference. Yes, they were back-to-back conference championship, but you're in the Power 5 conference. You're in a different beast now. And when you look at the small coaches there, some you might turn out to be a great coach. Might turn out to be a lot of stuff. Just like some of these NFL players, come from small schools. Turn out to be great. So time will tell with him. Is he going to be a good CEO too? Will he know? Will he mingle with he's got to mingle with all his coaches too. He knows what he wants on the offense. He's going to get that straightened out first. Then he's got to mingle with the defense. He's got to find out, hey, coaches, what's your idea? What is your philosophy? You got to study that philosophy. You got to study that. So you know what he's implementing and know if you got it, and then read a little bit about it. Go to the other teams that run that same thing and see what they've done a little bit and make some tweaks at it. You got to be a CEO. You got to overlook. You got to make sure everything's correct. So, so that is the ranking of the Pac-12. Coaches, the interesting stuff that came across the tidbits of the wire. I was only going to be here for about an hour and a half, but it turned out to be a good show. Got into some talking points. Got into stuff. This is what you can expect on the College Breakdown Show, and we're improving a little bit more each time we come on the air. I am Ray Cruz. This is the All Sports All Place Network. Continue on this afternoon Blitz with Chris Gonzalez and his crew. Do a good job. They come on at about, I'm thinking about somewhere between 12 and 1 today. And then he's also got his Easy Betting. That's a good show, too, that comes on at 3. Learn about betting. You want to learn that. Chris Gonzalez is the man on the All Sports All Place Network for that. And then you got her in the huddle later on. So continue on with the ASL Sports Network. I'm glad to be with you today. See you this Saturday from 9 to 12 at a normal time. This is just an intro to the college sport. What you can expect on the College Breakdown Show. Dre will join me later on as the months continue on. Beginning of August to the football season, we are the premier pregame show to lead you all the way up to kickoff on Saturdays. Join us each Saturday, and we'll break down the teams here. Good night or good day. Have a good day and a blessed day. And we're now peacing out. Peace.
All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we're making a plays. We're talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays.